on Dubzone. Dynamic duo Aideen Keane and Maya Markovski join us ahead of Canberra United's huge weekend. Victory narrows City's lead at the top of the table to just 2 points, and we'll break down all the storylines and finals permutations going into the last fortnight of the Ninja A-League. Well, hello and welcome to Dubzone. I'm Amy Duggan, and joining me are A-League's commentator Teo Pellizzeri and two-time Ninja A-League Championship winner Teresa Polias. Great to have you both on deck for another week of Dubzone. I know it was an interesting week with the international break, but you have to have a favourite moment of the week that was, T.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the 2 international games the Matildas played, and it was great to see Holly McNamara get 2 starts and fit in seamlessly.
I really enjoyed Brisbane's trip to Singapore. I think they enjoyed it more than anyone else. It was their favourite moment of the weekend, no doubt about that. And it's nice to have a couple of club games to look at as well.
We will be doing all of that and touching on that Singapore game and all the goals that came with it as well. But first, we have a couple of guests joining us. I'm not sure whether to call them the Terrible Two, the Dynamic Duo or the Dancing Duet, but we welcome Aideen Keane and Maya Markovski from Canberra United, who have spent some time this morning setting up a home studio for us. Morning, girls.
Good morning.
Great to have you both with us. Let's start with the season so far for Canberra United, teetering on the edge of finals football at the moment with your fingers crossed. But how would you describe the season so far?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a massive change from last year. Canberra obviously didn't finish so well. So for us to come in this season and be on the brink of finals, it's just really shows the work that all the girls have put in, the work that Ant's put in. It's just been that kind of next level.
And ladies, it was a massive win for you last weekend. There's another big game ahead, but on the Saturday, Sydney take on Perth. Now, I'm wondering, do you take notice of the ladder positionings? Will you be watching the game as a team?
Probably, to be honest. I think it's important, to, keep updated on what other teams are doing and what position that puts us in. But all we know is if we win the 2 games that are in front of us, we make finals, and that's what we can control. We can't control the results from other teams.
You touched on the influence of your coach, Anthony Jagrenek, there. Just what sort of a coach has he been? Because it's your first season at the club, his first season at the helm, and obviously a lot of new faces coming together. So to be sitting 6th this late in the campaign, tell us about the job he's done and the influence he's had on both of you.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe Ant as a coach is probably passionate. He puts absolutely everything he has into coaching, and he's there to do whatever it takes to put us in the best position throughout the whole season. He wants this just as badly as we do, and he's willing to do anything to make it happen.
You guys have pulled off a couple of epic goal celebrations throughout this season. We're going to have a look at a few of those, but walk us through the preparation. Is there a whole lot of dancing being done in the lounge room of Aideen's house to set these up? Have you got one in the bag for the next time there's a goal?
There's definitely been some going on. I think it probably stemmed a lot from us being on TikTok. Probably chronically online a little bit.
So do you have one set up for if there's a goal in the coming weeks?
We have a few options, I think.
Yeah, we do have a few options.
We always have some ready to go, and then it's just kind of whatever feels right in the moment.
Yeah, it depends. No teaser for us now?
Nah, none of that.
You have to go to our TikTok to see.
Okay, well, we've talked about Sydney playing Perth, but your next game, of course, is against Wellington Phoenix. That could solidify you in the finals. So how are the preparations going?
It's been good so far. We've just come off, obviously a couple of our players are on international duty, actually quite a few of them, which is good, but for the rest of us, we had a couple days off. Ant's a big believer in happy player, or happy person, happy player. So that was really good rest. And then, we've hit the ground running hard this week with the big session yesterday. And preparation stays the same, winning mentality. And we know that this is a really important game for us.
And ladies, Michelle Heyman brings up her 200th game this weekend. She's a legend of the game. Have you got any Heyman stories? What's it like training and playing with her?
Honestly, it's surreal. I remember showing Michelle a video I had of her, from 10 years ago of her saying like, hey Maya, like one of my friends got a video of her saying, so it's obviously surreal playing with like that caliber of a player, especially because I'm a striker myself, and just having her around is just a positive influence on the team. She brings a lot, not only on the field but off the field as well. Like she's a great human.
Well, yes, very lucky to play with a player of Michelle's calibre, and all the best, girls, for the game this weekend against the Wellington Phoenix. Sunday the 13th of April, kick-off at 3 p.m. And that will, of course, be at McKellar Park, and you can watch it live on 10 Play and Paramount Plus if you can't get your bum on a seat at the ground. So, Maya Markovski and Aideen Keane, thanks so much for your time. I hope both of you hit the back of the net on the weekend and we get a little taste of that goal-scoring celebration to come.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, lots of fun with those two. And they've had lots of fun playing with Michelle Heyman, who this weekend will rack up game number 200 in the Ninja A-League.
Who could be on here for Michelle Heyman? She's gone around, Haley caught by Michelle Heyman. Easy as you please, Michelle Heyman.
Can't believe I did it. I think it's just like, who would have thought that, you know, from League One in 2008, playing 12 to 14 games to today, being able to tick over the 200. It's just an incredible achievement. I feel very proud and just grateful to still be playing the game. It's wild. Like, I think about it over and over again, you know, seeing the girls get their caps of 50 here and there. And I'm like, wow, I've been around for a long time now.
Looking for Heyman, who leaps, scores, what a goal! Heyman, the super striker from Shell Harbour.
Canberra, you know, means the world to me. It goes back from 2010 to today, and I've tried to, you know, be loyal to this club because this is home, and I hope, you know, the Canberra United fans and everyone within the A-Leagues can, you know, really see that loyalty that I have within this club. It's just walking out on McKellar Field, like just being able to walk out onto that field, see everybody, you know, cheering us on, supporting us. We're a small community, but we are very loud and we are very big when it comes to women's football here in Canberra. So for me to be able to look up into the stand, to see my mum, to see Christine, to, you know, used to see my dad sitting up there, it's special. It's really special. The days when I'm not feeling great and I'm, you know, unhappy on the field, I'm like, okay, I think I need to take some mental time again and just like relax and remember why I do it. And I know when I'm happy, when I'm smiling, when I'm feeling good, that's when the goals usually come. So as soon as you see like the cranky Michelle, that's when I've got to kind of like compose myself and really think about like, you know, trying to get that smile back. And to do so, sometimes I draw like a little smiley face on my hand just to like look at it, to be like, remember the reasons why you're doing this. One of the biggest highlights was watching Chloe Lincoln and, you know, Laura Hughes go out and make their national debut for the Matildas. Like, that made me so happy to be like, oh wow, look at us. So there was like, I reckon there was like 6 Canberra United players on the field at that time, and I was like, this is really nice to see how far everyone's coming and, you know, what incredible careers they're all going to have. So I feel lucky. People kind of laugh at me about it because I'm like the old mother now. But to me, it's like, you know, these are my children. And I'm really proud of every single one of them.
And Michelle Heyman finds the back of the net.
Legend. And I think, like, you know, loyalty, goal scorer, just like good human. I hope that's what I leave behind.
Already a fantastic career to Michelle Heyman, racking up a 200th game in the Ninja A-Leagues this weekend, and plenty more memories and hopefully plenty more goals to come. She gave me goosebumps.
Me too.
A little bit, guys, talking about loyalty and smiling and feeling happy.
I mean, her journey's phenomenal, isn't it? And I can recall back in 2008, 120 of us trialling for Sydney FC, all the Mariners out on fields 5 and 6 at Valentine Park, and just to see her journey. And you know what? After all of it, the football speaks for itself, but she is a good human and she's made every team culture and environment better, and that's the biggest thing.
Speaking of the start of the journey, so you were the games record holder and for quite a few years. Did you ever envisage 200 was even possible for anyone, never mind a contemporary that started at the same time as you?
I mean, not the way the competition was structured, and for Michelle to have gotten to this milestone it's outstanding, and you know, you hope to see it continue to thrive, and hopefully we'll see the 300 mark one day from someone, maybe Michelle.
I mean, in a broader context, we've seen, you know, Marta, Christine Sinclair, the legends of football extend their career so long. Michelle Heyman is still playing for the Matildas. Let's not set that aside. So, I mean, 200 is a great milestone, but is there any indication that she's going to stop playing anytime soon?
I wouldn't think so. The form that she's in at the moment, still being able to put goals away, still in the national team squad at the moment, all those things would only indicate that there's still, at least a few more years left in those legs. And I know, as you mentioned, overseas, there's plenty of players that play on into their late 30s and early 40s as well. And I think she'll be one of those. Look out, Bubs. Michelle Heyman might be coming up to your record, I'd say. But we'll have to wait and see. A Warilla girl, Shellharbour, played with the boys as a junior, came through the local Illawarra Premier League, not even playing for the Stingrays until I think she was 18, came across for a year and then straight into the W League and has never looked back, Teo, 118 goals later.
But you can't tell the Michelle Heyman story without mentioning that it was looking like it was over. I mean, she left Canberra, she went to Adelaide, only scored 1 goal that season, seemingly off the radar for the national team for good. And then she had a bit of an epiphany in terms of how she manages her body, overcoming injuries, lifestyle, diet, etc. I mean, what does that say about the innovation and also the willingness to adapt on the run? Because this is a career that could have ended 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to her character as well, knowing herself and knowing what she needed at the time. And she made that big decision back then to make those changes in her life, and she hasn't looked back. It's almost been like a second coming for her, and congratulations.
Well, you say that. You could almost split Michelle Heyman's career into 2 segments and have a Football Australia Hall of Fame level career in both halves. There's not many athletes in world sport that can do that.
Yeah, and it continues. Because it's not over, it's only her 200th game this weekend as they take on the Wellington Phoenix at McKellar Park. Get along for that one or catch it on 10play or Paramount Plus. What you could have caught over the weekend in the very brief moment that we saw Ninja A-League in action was Melbourne Victory and Western Sydney Wanderers going head-to-head. This is a make-up game from earlier in the season and the result went Victory's way, but only just, and it came thanks to an own goal, T.
Yeah, I think Victory at the moment just struggling to put away chances. I did feel like they dominated the game against a Wanderers team that were trying to be very, very organised. You can see that's an improvement they've made, and the unfortunate own goal there from Danica Matos was unfortunate for the Wanderers.
Is there much to take away from where Victory out of this one? I mean, they have had these scratchy, unimpressive performances all through the season. And I'm sitting here thinking, is this a blueprint of how they may beat Melbourne City in the final? That it may not be the greatest game of all time, but if you win and put your hands on the trophy, that's all that matters.
Well, that is all that matters, Teo. And I think at the moment, you sort of don't know what you're going to get from them. So perhaps that could actually be their wild card.
I guess good teams, grind out wins when they need to. They use grit, they use determination, and they win scrappy or not. They get the points, and what they have done is close that gap at the top of the table now to just 2 points.
Well, the pressure's on this weekend though, T, because Melbourne City play first, so they can open the gap back out. Melbourne Victory are away at the Central Coast, and this has been very hard fought. A draw in Unite round, and then Victory edging it when they played in Melbourne. So this is their third head-to-head of the season. 2 teams that'll know each other incredibly well as a result. But if City beat Newcastle, Victory has to win to take it to the final day. So how tough is Mariners away for Victory?
Very, and at the moment the Mariners are on a high. They've gotten better results lately. They're playing better football. So this is a really tough fixture for Victory, but I think one that they need before finals, really.
Em Gielnik was the difference down in Melbourne, and we saw her hit the post against the Wanderers and have a heap of chances. So this depleted Mariners defence, they're very undersized. They're not a great team in the air anymore. Is it as simple as set-piece battery for Melbourne Victory?
Oh, not necessarily. I really think that they need to be trying to put things together in open play and scoring goals. And Em Gielnik, don't forget, in that Golden Boot race too. So she'll be wanting to put things away, whether they be set pieces or open play.
7 p.m. kickoff, that one, Friday the 11th at Industry Group Stadium. You can catch Victory taking on the Central Coast Mariners for a third time this season. Of course, Victory, as we said, scraping home with that 1-0 win over the Wanderers, thanks to an own goal from Danica Matos. I'd like to think there when I saw it, the sun was probably in her face. Em Gielnik missed the first strike and then it just hit her and hit the back of the net. But there was also an offside moment that was quite contentious in this match too.
I mean, Wanderers T, I asked you last week at are they going to end their season on a 6-game losing streak? Are they going to score a goal before the end of the season? Because they had a big, long, almost club record run without scoring earlier in the season and broke it with that 5-1 result against Western United.
Yeah,
but they just can't score, and they're in real danger.
They can, they just don't count.
Well, they're in real danger of ending the season on a 6-game winless streak at the moment.
That was a tough call, really tight call there. I really can't say whether I think it was offside or not. But look, they are creating chances. Let's not forget, they're in the position they are in, I think, because of their really poor start to the season. The first half of the season was quite poor for them, and I think the second half they've actually picked things up. They're going in a better direction. You
say that they're on exactly the same number of points as Adelaide won the Wooden Spoon with last season, and by the end of the campaign they will have played an extra game due to Unite round. So, and Adelaide were cut adrift in last place at the end of last season.
Yeah, I just think it's their first half of the season was that bad, but I really do think they're on an upwards trajectory and are building and planning for next season.
You say that.
I say that as a Sydney FC, through and through lover.
I went and watched.
It's hard for her. But I'm saying something positive about the Wanderers, and I mean it. I really
I'm not
think
sure,
that.
but I'm not sure you can guarantee me that they're going to retain this core of players. If anything, I went and watched their NPL team at the weekend. I think they're going to get even younger, and it might be because they lose the players that have been there for a couple of years and in 19, 20, 21, and they'll have no choice but to replace them with 16 and 17.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know. There's a lot of factors for players staying where they are. We haven't really heard many whispers about players leaving, so it's a big hope that they do retain, and that's been their issue over a very long time, I should say. So that's Abraham's challenge now, Jeff Abrahams, is to retain as many players as possible.
Well, let's hear what the players had to say after hearing what you two have to say about it. First from Bronte True and then from Kayla Morrison.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really, really good game for us. I think, as Jeff just said in our post-chat, it was one of the best performances we've had all season. I think, we would come away with feeling really good about ourselves about that game. Very unfortunate about the loss, but I mean, what can you do? 1-0 against one of the best teams in the competition. I think that's a positive that we can take out of this game.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think it's really exciting. It gives us all something to look forward to. And, since I've been here, we've never been in this position. We've always been coming in third, fourth, things like that. So I think it's really exciting. And it feels like we can, reach out and grab it. So you just got to keep playing well.
Kayla Morrison hoping her team can keep playing well and maintain their position, or maybe even go one better on the ladder with just a couple of weeks remaining. Time now to see what's cooking on socials with Narlene Masto, thanks to Ninja.
I'm Narlene Masto with what's cooking on socials and in the world of women's football. Brought to you by the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven, which can turn any space into an outdoor kitchen. Over the weekend, 19-year-old Annika Stajic made her debut for Western Sydney Wanderers against Melbourne Victory. To make the moment even more memorable, her father, Alan Stajic, the current boss of the men's Wanderers team and former Matildas head coach, was in the stands watching on. The PFA have joined forces with the UK's Greenfoot Weekend for the Great Save initiative, which aims to address football kit waste. As part of the campaign, the PFA will be collaborating with sustainability partners to give life to sport jerseys by donating, reselling, reusing or upcycling them. The goal is to reduce waste, save resources and make kits more accessible to those in need. Matilda stars Caitlin Ford and Sam Kerr paid a visit to their old stomping ground at Sky Park during the international break. Kerr shared a pic on socials with her national teammate in front of the mural. It's always great to see two homegrown international superstars returning to their roots. Now it's time to head back to the Dubzone panel to dissect how the Ninja A-League stars did in the Matildas international friendlies against Korea Republic.
Thank you, Narlene. Yes, the Ninja A-League stars certainly standing on their own 2 feet in those 2 games against South Korea, which is where we're going to continue our focus now. Teresa and Teo, great to see the Matildas pick up back-to-back wins. Let's start with Friday night's game at Allianz Stadium, 1-0 thanks to an own goal off an Emily Van Egmond shot there. Good for them to get the result under their belt, and great to see Holly Mack back in the fray.
2 good results, and yeah, it was great to see Holly Mack with the starts. I thought she fit in seamlessly. She was physical. She gets fired up out there. I just feel she just fits, and we're seeing the future of the Matildas with her out there.
When you say that, the physicality, T, and we've highlighted some of the moments where either Holly McNamara, through her attempts to win the ball or through some fairly, I would say, preventative
robust
defending, led to her taking some heavy falls and heavy hits. I mean, are we burdened by knowing the context of Holly McNamara's injury history? Do we need to, perhaps stop worrying about her getting hurt every time something like this happens?
Definitely. I think that's where these questions are coming from. If you watch her play, she's quite an aggressive, in a good way, character out there. She gets fired up, and I love to see that. So all these questions about whether she's aggressive enough, I think it's that fear of, knowing her injury history, because I think at times she was the aggressor there in those duels. So I don't have any fears for her fitting in physically.
She's obviously not worried either, with a couple of stitches in her face from training during the week
Little
before
patch
she
and
took
carry
to the
on.
pitch as well.
Did they do enough to put her in a position to score a goal? Because one thing we talked about before the international break was wanting to see Holly McNamara breaking into open space or finishing in close quarters, which is the mix of how she has scored her goals this season. Did the Matildas replicate enough of those scenarios for her?
I think they did. I know she came off at half-time in the second game. I would have loved to have seen her out there a bit longer, because I felt like in that second half there were a lot more chances being created. The press was better against South Korea. So my answer to that, based on the first game, no. But I think there's promising signs, and I just think that the more exposure they get with each other, and the chemistry will build.
So first result goes their way thanks to the own goal, and it's taken a while for the Matildas to hit the back of the net. There's been a few games now where they haven't been able to do so, but they did so well in the second game here in Newcastle, and it was the magic feat of Mary Fowler finding the back of the net. And isn't it wonderful to see Mary back in goal scoring form for Australia?
It's so important to see, and what a fantastic touch under pressure with two players against her, and she just smashes that home. It's great to see, and exactly what we're needing.
So that's it, T? Job done? Full houses? Everyone's happy?
Not everyone's happy, Teo. I don't think you can please everyone, but I think in this couple of games, I think they did the job, and I think they'll be happy with how they went against Asian opposition as well, with looking ahead at the Asian Cup.
Two great crowds in Sydney and then again in Newcastle, and fantastic results for the Matildas. And of course, they have a couple more games to look forward to now, with the announcement of playing against Argentina too.
Yeah, very interesting, and South American opposition as well. So I think that's an area. I think we do well against Asian opposition. I think it's European and South American opposition that we've got to show a bit more tactical fluidity. Yeah.
Now, Teo, we saw a handful of Ninja A-League players in this squad and taking to the pitch. How did you rate their performances?
Look, limited game time, safe to say, T. Leah Davidson obviously got on for another cap, and we had Tash Pryor come off the bench, and she was important. Holly McNamara was the main focus.
Yeah.
Tamika Yallop has been a great individual performances for her own form for the Brisbane Roar this season. Even when the team has been losing, Yallop's own form has sustained.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Pryor there, there's been questions about, the pace of international football and the adjustment, but it seems as though that as complementary pieces, the hierarchy of, the 2023 World Cup stars was very much in place, and Ninja A-League players were able to come in and, play cameo roles.
Yeah, I think that, the cameos, it's hard to tell from limited game time, but don't forget they're in a camp environment as well. They're training at an elite level with the best players, the country has. So I think they'll gain a lot in that regard, and I think as the two games coming up, hopefully we'll see more minutes for them as well.
All right. Well, let's hear now from interim Matildas coach Tommy Samani.
Our message was similar to the last game, to continue the momentum, because that's really, really important tonight. And what we didn't want to do was have the last game as a one-off and come out tonight with a lack of effort or a lack of intensity. And in fairness to the players, they did what we asked of them tonight, and I think as the longer the game went on, the more we dominated the game. And to be honest, the only thing, not disappointing, but I thought we could have probably scored another couple of goals.
Happy enough with a clean sheet though, Tom Samani?
We're absolutely delighted with that, because that's really important. That, if you look back, with a team that hasn't kept that many clean sheets over the last few years, so to get a couple, particularly against a quality Asian side, is very good.
That is Tommy Samani wrapping up that chat. And vision of Caitlin Ford signing autographs after that one. Thought she could have maybe bagged a couple in that second game as well. Anyway, let's move on and talk about round 22 of the Ninja A-League. It's the penultimate round. All important results coming our way for this one. First, let's take a look at the table and find out where everyone's sitting ahead of the penultimate round. Of course, we've discussed Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory there. Adelaide sitting comfortably in third position. Western seems to have secured their position in the top four. So now it's about those last two positions. Perth and Sydney about to play. So Saturday afternoon will be a big one for these guys. Will Sydney be able to upset Perth T?
Look, yeah, I kind of want to limit what I say about Sydney, but yes, I think they can do the job. I think confidence is on a high and they're playing well. They've shuffled a few players around, in particular Indy Dos Santos as well, so it's going to be an intriguing matchup.
I think Sydney will win, but they're in a situation where they could do with the goal difference, and I don't think they're prolific enough to win by a big margin. This is last time they met over in the West, and Perth did pretty well to earn a draw out of this, given that Sydney FC had some pretty gilt-edged chances in this one, and Casey Dumont denied Mackenzie Hawkesby with a point-blank one-on-one during the second half. Perth came home quite literally with the wind at their backs because they were attacking with the wind at Sam Kerr in the second half. But I think in Sydney, it's a tough away trip for Perth. Their goal difference, I think, has left them in a situation where it's kind of off the table for them. Of course, both these teams know that a draw knocks each other out, and that if Canberra beats Wellington, it's all over. But at least the order of the fixtures, T, means that this is a mini-final in the slightest, littlest possible way. It is a mini-ish final.
And that'll pump both teams up for the fixture. And although they are an outside chance, you just never know in a game of football. And I agree, T, I thought Perth had more energy in that last encounter, but we're looking at a different Sydney FC now.
Yep.
And putting pressure, as we said, on Canberra and on Brisbane Roar, the result of that one. Let's talk about Melbourne City and Newcastle on Friday night. 2 points ahead of victory with games against the Jets and Perth away to go. They'd be odds-on favourite, wouldn't they?
I'd say so in that fixture. I know Newcastle playing with no pressure now, though, and they're still creating. But, how can you say City aren't going to win?
I think City will know that they can win the title on Friday. They'd love to win it by playing their own game. I mean, would it be a little bit hollow if they win and then Victory draw or lose to the Mariners later and City's, at their after party finding out that they won the trophy, T? Or would they rather do it on the field?
I don't think they'll be partying, Teo. It's a bit early even, if they do.
Friday, they've got the whole weekend off before they have to go back to training on Monday.
Yeah, no, look, they've still got a job to do ahead and it's not going to be easy against Newcastle.
This also sets up the intriguing battle for the Golden Boot too, with both these Melbourne teams in play. So Gilnick or McNamara?
I'm just basing it on fixtures alone, and I've got to give the nod to Holly Mack for who I think will take out the Golden Boot.
Funny you say that. I think Gilnick will do it because if Melbourne Victory need to chase goal difference on the final day against the Brisbane Roar, or if it's a total dead rubber for both teams, I can potentially see Gilnick finding one or two more. I mean,
they've just got to finish him, Teo.
If neither of them score, I know Holly McNamara scored last time City played Newcastle, but if neither of them score in these final couple of games, T, is a tie a fair result, or do you think one striker or the other has a better claim to the Golden Boot over the course of the season?
It's 12 goals apiece. They've both scored 12. Do they count finals goals?
No, home and away season award.
Then I think it's fair to say they should share the Golden Boot.
Who do you think it means more to take this accolade out?
Wow. I mean, individually, I think they're both in different stages of their careers. So for Holly Mack, it'd be her first, if I'm not mistaken. And for Gilnick, it's like a resurgence. She's come back, and I think it would mean a lot to both of them for different reasons.
Well, either way, you end up with a golden pair of boots, Day. So everyone's happy after that. Okay. Brisbane Roar facing Western Sydney Wanderers. You could almost say that Brisbane has got the easier run home here. Heading into the finals?
Well, no, because it's out of their hands now. It's Canberra that's got destiny in their control. Brisbane still needs Canberra to slip up either against Wellington or against Canberra. But Brisbane have to take care of business here, too.
They do.
Now, I did put forward the theory last week that it was going to be a team bonding session. They were going to have an amazing time over in Singapore and it was going to bring the group together. Now, we're going to see some of the highlights here. Just
7-1, Teo.
Just, maybe give the goalkeeping a pass. Let's not forget, Danelle Tan, who hasn't scored for the Roar this season, is one of the Singapore national team's best players. Evie Popadinova, who hasn't scored and frankly hasn't really looked like scoring since round 1, got a double in this game, T. So it's, it's just a good feeling for these Brisbane players to be back on the winners list and to be running up a nice big score.
And last week, Teo, I kind of dismissed a little bit what you said about that team bonding, and on reflection, I probably would have to agree that maybe this trip is what they did need. The floodgates opened. Hopefully they had some team bonding, some fun, and hopefully they've reset and can come back and bring that goal scoring.
Stay with me on this theory. Should Alex Smith only play players that went to Singapore? Should he leave out everyone who went to Young Matildas camp and Matildas camp?
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Okay. Well, because they weren't there. They didn't get that experience. They're bringing in different vibes from different environments, T.
Well, I guess he'll have to do his own vibe test and think on it as, if he thinks that those players with the Singapore vibe are going to get the job done, then play them. But I don't think he should rule them out because they didn't go.
Yeah, what does the vibe test involve?
I mean, you get that energy. You got to feel the energy of the group. And
were there ever teammates in your career that you could just tell in the rooms before the game they just properly weren't up for it, either because of things they said or because of the way they were behaving or things like that?
Go back and watch a couple finals, Teo, and you'll be able to see that. Yeah,
we might have to do a rewatch, T.
That players just, for whatever reasons, didn't turn up, and you can't control that.
And we were talking about this before.
I didn't turn up in my last grand final, so there you go. It happened, and I didn't mean for it, but I think I was overwhelmed with it being possibly my last game, and it was out of my control, and I had a woeful game.
Too much emotion. Too much emotion.
I didn't handle it.
We were talking about this though earlier, and whether you want to call it the vibe or culture or whatever word you want to use, how important, the preparation beforehand is, the feeling going into a game, the atmosphere in the change room, the warm-up is always indicative of how a side is going to play. But the other really important factor is the bench, Teo, and how invested and aligned the bench is in what's going on the pitch.
And you can see that when a team celebrates or when things happen in a game. What's the reaction of the bench? That gives you quite an insight into how the team's going off the pitch.
With all that said, Wanderers did beat them last time they played. With all that said, do you give the Wanderers any chance? I asked you earlier, do you see them scoring again or winning again before the end of the season? Well, they've only got 2 more chances to do it, so is it this weekend?
2 more chances they've got, and they're like I said, they've been pretty unlucky as well. You could say they did score in the last game if those that think it was not an offside. So they're creating, minimal chances, but they can finish.
We're going to have T pull on a red and black jersey next season. I'm sure of it. All right, we've got to find out what is happening in the Total A-Leagues.
Coming up on Total A-Leagues, we speak to one of the brightest young talents in the Isuzu Ute A-League, Newcastle Jets' Eli Adams, ahead of a massive F3 derby. We also discuss the race for the finals. Are Auckland stumbling? Can Western United catch them? Can Sydney hold on to 6th? All that and more with Tommy Orr. Tommy, looking forward to a big weekend?
Huge games this weekend. Obviously, big game, Western Sydney Wanderers against Western United in particular. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, me too, mate. Check out Total A-Leagues every Wednesday on the A-Leagues YouTube and website.
Thank you, Vince and Tommy, and plenty of action coming up in the Ninja A-League as well. The penultimate round, just a couple to go before we solidify that top 6 and we kick off finals. Super exciting. Which game are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to, obviously, the Sydney-Perth game. I'll be at the ground calling too, so very excited.
That is exciting. I'm looking forward to Canberra-Wellington because there's a possibility that Canberra finish 6th, winning 1 of their last 9. I don't think Wellington are going to be good enough. I don't think Wellington will be good enough to beat them. I think Canberra will win, and I think they will keep finals destiny in their own hands. But they don't play the games on paper, and I'm intrigued as to whether Canberra can actually back up that great result over in Perth.
Well, I'm with you, Tay. That's the game I'm most looking forward to, and I think they will, given it's Michelle Heyman's 200th, and the Canberra crowd will hopefully pack into Mackellar Stadium and make it a really special experience and get the win to boot as well. Anyway, that is it from Dubzone for another week. A big thank you to Teresa Polias and Pellizzeri as always, and we look forward to seeing you guys at a game on 10 Play or Paramount Plus, and back here, same time, same place next week.